Here we go. All right, guys. Take two. Let me just drop this link here onto Facebook, and then we'll get started. Eight minutes ago. That's weird. All right. Yeah, the audio was totally screwed on the last one, so please let me know if this sounds okay. I'm pretty sure I worked out all the kinks and all the bugs for the audio. I figured out why it sounded like it was underwater, so I think I have it worked out. So if you're live now, please let me know if the audio is okay. I'm not in my home studio. I will explain a little bit about that in just a moment while I drop the links here on Facebook so that we can get some people live on a stream that hopefully has actual audio that's able to be. There we go. 1 second. I'm going to share this to the personal page. All right, here we go. All right, I think we got it. All right. Okay. Let's try this again, shall we? Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission. We are looking at January 14th, 2021. So how's the audio? Whoever, there's got someone on here, so let me know. I'm pretty sure I enabled the chat. So let me know how it's looking. I think it's okay now. I did a couple different runs to see, to dial in the audio. I am not in my home studio. I am actually doing my other business, which is house sitting and pet care. And so I'm house sitting right now for this really lovely elder dog who recently, I'd say within the last year, had his eyes removed. And so it's been an interesting reference point, I think, to how many people are navigating through life right now. And so I'm going to talk about that as well. But we're going to talk about the astrology, and we are going to talk about this transmission today. So one of the big things that have happened today. So Uranus is now stationing direct. That happened at 1:45 this morning, Eastern Standard Time. So late last night into early this morning, if you are in the, let's see if I even enabled the chat. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. So if you are, depending on where you were. So it definitely started to move forward in the middle of the night, late last night, and so you may have noticed some sleep disruptions. I did notice that the Schumann the frequency is starting to rise again. It's been pretty quiet for the last, a couple of days, and it's not out of control. Power of 27, I think, is the last I saw. So, but you can tell that the electromagnetic frequency of the planet is starting to go up. Now, Uranus is it's the lightning bolt of awareness. It is revolution. It is the future. It is the ruler of Aquarius. And that is the name of the game right now. As you can see, we have the star card is the outcome of this transmission today. So, with Uranus moving direct today, we've had a lot of time to internalize and review what it is about the material world and what we value, who we value, our actual resources that we need to let go of in order to create the space for something new to grow. And Uranus is disruptive. It is swift change. It happens very quickly, and it is the collective third eye opening. And so we're outside time and space when it comes to Uranus. We are in the chute, in the wormhole. And with it moving direct now, we've gone from a space where there's been internalized review and a process that has been much more under the surface, and now it's going to activate, and we're all going together. That's the thing. So if we're all going together and we're all going to have our own experience of this. And so be prepared as we move through this day and in the days ahead. I mean, that's the thing. Uranus is now going to be moving direct in Taurus. And so expect disruptions in the material world to start becoming much more noticeable and much more palpable. The other thing too is that the sun is, I just did all of this. So I'm kind of trying to get myself re-grounded and anchored here so that I can give this message again, because it already came through once. So, and I'm all discombobulated because it did not come out very well. So, I mean, it came out well, but the audio was bad. And so the sun is also meeting Pluto today. And Pluto has been pulling the thread out from our sweater, our beautiful cashmere sweater. You know, the reliance on the traditions and the institutions that have allowed the social elite and that aspect of us too to be very comfortable and to really rely on these aspects to have a nice, comfortable reality. And Pluto has been pulling the thread out from this beautiful rug, piece by piece. And with the sun coming to meet Pluto today, it's going to be fully illuminated. We are going to find our own expression through this experience. We are going to find fulfillment through this experience to a certain extent, and it will be illuminated. There will be no getting away from this destructive force today that is, you know, has been in effect since 2008, let's be real, since Pluto came into Capricorn, but is really starting to come into the mastery of it, right? We're getting into the last 5 degrees of Capricorn. And so we're getting into the real essence of the old matrix, the institutions, and the actual lattice work of our material reality. Pluto is taking it apart, and it gets very strong and stable in late Capricorn. And so this is really pulling it all down. And with the sun meeting Pluto today, it's going to activate it, and it's going to be an expression that moves through us, and it will be something that we can't really unsee, right? It is going to become a part of who we are. And with Uranus moving direct today, then we are also, again, that awareness, that shift in perspective, that really drastic shift in perspective, being able to look towards the future, being able to think outside of the box, you know, having that collective third eye open up and becoming aware of the glue that holds it all together, that is way more than just what we see in front of us. And we are being asked to trust this process. So what I likened it to earlier was that so Taurus is the soil, and this is where Uranus is. And when we plant a seed into the soil, the seed has it is contained. It contains all of the potential for its growth. Well, in the process of that seed germinating and sprouting, the shell of the seed has to fall away. And this is where we're finding ourselves right now, is that the seed is cracking open and falling away. And in order to allow this germination process to unfold and for this sprout to really push up and out into the sunlight and reach above the soil line, come to the surface, that part of ourselves that was encompassing all of our potential, the seed itself, has to fall away and disintegrate. And this is where we're at right now. And many people are still clinging desperately to that seed because it protected all of the potential within us. It protected our subjective experience. It protected everything that we hold within us that represents who we are as an ego consciousness. It has to fall away in order for something new to grow, which is this new seedling and this new sprout. And so this is also a natural process. And this is what Pluto represents: the destruction, the emptiness, and then the transformation. And we're moving through this process right now, and Uranus is making it really painfully clear to us, and it will keep the pressure on now that it's moving direct. We won't be able to avoid it, especially with the sun here now fully illuminating this process. It is going to become very clear, and with Uranus, it is going to shake things up in our material world and force us. This Uranus in the chart is always the trigger to our transformation. It begins what Pluto inevitably fulfills. Right? Because Pluto is the dark night of the soul. It is the lord of death. It is the ruler of the underworld. We have to go through that process to come back up into a new form. But Uranus is the lightning bolt that starts the fire and destroys the whole forest. And this is really, we have to accept and allow for the forest to burn in order for these new sprouts to come about. And the degree that Uranus is in now that it's moving direct is that Good Samaritan and the woman at the well, right? She was already released from the old traditions of her community and her culture, because she herself was an outcast. So she was able to have almost this innocent and clean palette in order for Jesus to expose himself as the living God to her, right? Something that he had never done except through parable to anybody else, but straight up came and told her, because she was able to hold that message, because she wasn't clinging to any kind of old order. And specifically the fact that the Samaritans hated the Jews. They had a rivalry. And so because she was not even accepted in her own community, she was able to see people and meet them where they're at. And we're going to get tested with this. And there is a guiding light here that's coming, but not without some of this destructive force. The moon is going to meet Mercury in Aquarius today, and it's really time that we start seeing ourselves and other people as the the daily oracle reading. I got distracted because I wanted to come in to make sure that everything was good with the audio through the chat. It's really time now that we stop projecting ourselves onto other people. Part of the Aquarian aspect is that we come into coherence with natural law, with cosmic law. And that means accepting things for what they are, as opposed to consistently projecting our ideal onto others as a screen, right? So there's this sense that what's been happening for so long is a projection, right? A holographic projection. And if we really want to actually evolve and come into full coherence with cosmic law, with natural law, with divine law, which is what Aquarius in its highest iteration represents, we have to start seeing each other as flawed, beautiful, natural, organic human beings, and not screens upon which this holographic reality is projected upon. And this goes for how we see ourselves and the reality outside of us and the other people. And with the moon, the high priestess, meeting Mercury, the magician today, this is going to allow for a much more organic creation to come about, as opposed to, again, coming and creating this 2D like artificial projection. It is way more organic and is way more natural to come to this point where we see each other for who we are and stop projecting an ideal, because it's great to have an ideal. Aquarius does represent, in its most distilled form, an ideal, but it brings the ideal into actual form. And we need We need to come into coherence with natural law, what is organic, as opposed to what is a projection. And that starts with us, right? And it starts with other people and seeing them for who they are and seeing ourselves for who we are and not projecting that ideal onto us and not letting anybody else project onto us like we're a blank screen either. There's one thing to be a clear palette in order to create and to see into the future. It's another to allow ourselves to be blank in order for somebody else to use us as a screen for their holographic projection. So with the moon and Mercury coming together today in this degree of Aquarius, there is a real potential here to create from an organic position as opposed to a holographic position. Okay. Now, the moon is also going to trine our Gemini North Node, right? So we have an air trine with Aquarius and the North Node today. Now keep in mind here that the position of the moon in this trine will be the position of Mercury on the 20th. So Mercury will trine the North Node on the 20th. The moon today is in a trine to the North Node. And it's the white dove bearing a message, right? It is a symbol of peace and hope. And in a trine, it is that three angles of total support and foundation. There's no action here necessarily. It is just a representation of work that has created something structurally sound. And the North Node has been a lot of obsessive consumption of ideas. We have all of it, the multitude of ideas, right? The Gemini aspect, because it's not just the bifurcation, it is everything in between, right? Everything in between is Gemini as well, from one pole to the other and everything else. And so this degree of the North Node for the last couple of weeks has been everything in between as well. Every idea, every concept that we can consume has been available for us to take onto our plate here. And if we have the appetite, surely we could eat it all and take it all in. And that leads to analysis later and understanding. But it's just knowledge at this point. It's just information at this point. And so it's been obsessive, I have to admit. Many of us have been obsessed or confused. I mean, Gemini, there's a lot of confusion in Gemini. You know what I mean? I mean, Pisces too, because there's no boundaries there. But in Gemini, it's just so many ideas without making any kind of commitment to anything that it can seem kind of confusing and not very stable mentally. But that's why that's the realm of the magician, right? Is utilizing every thought form and idea for the sake of creating something, manifesting something. Our thoughts create things. You know, this is the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy, is that when we, the thoughts that we engage with are going to follow a trajectory into our emotions and then into our behaviors. So, but the moon in Aquarius today coming to this trine is showing us that there is a structure here that is supportive, that there is something that has been created as a result of where we are headed. And there's peace and there's harmony here. There's the white dove, right? This is the signal that there is peace and harmony here. And it's a certification in some ways. It's a funny word, huh? Certification of our spiritual process, right? And so it'll be subtle. It'll be under the surface. It won't be something that we're actively engaged with. That's coming on the 20th when Mercury comes into this trine. It'll be something in our objective awareness, in our mind at that point. Right now, it's just more of a subtle personal experience, a feeling experience that there is peace coming and there is something that has been gained, which is our own evolution, by having access to all of this information and being able to choose what we engage with and what we don't, okay? So that's the astrology for today. Uranus going direct, Sun meeting Pluto in Capricorn, and then the moon in Aquarius meeting Mercury, and in this trine to the North Node. So a lot of Aquarian energy, especially with Uranus here, looking forward to the future, the stars, right? Letting them guide us, cosmic coherence, but we still have to live in the reality that is crumbling, okay? This is part of the process. And one of the things that I had mentioned in the first iteration of this is that, you know, it's one thing to be able to conceptualize all of these things. We can think about them, we can have our ideas, we can associate with them mentally, but we're never going to really know what it's going to be like until the experience is happening. So that's something else to consider, that we can have all of these ideas about this process, but until we're in the middle of it, which with Uranus moving direct is going to be, it's going to happen quickly. Until we're in the middle of it, we're really not going to know. We're not going to know until we're actually experiencing it. And so that's something else to keep in mind too, because I think that there is a lot. Some people obviously don't know what's happening, that the world is crumbling. They're still holding out that it's all going to go back to normal, which it's not. And we know that. Saturn and Pluto conjunct last year was the beginning of the end. Okay, we are in this process. But even for people who are aware of this process unfolding, there's a sense that just because we intellectually and rationally understand this and know this, that is enough. And I think it's wise to be mindful of the fact that you're not going to know how it feels until you're in the middle of it, and it's going to come quickly, and it may feel differently than what you anticipated. The story that I use is that, you know, both of my dogs had, and my partner's dog, so all three of our dogs had been diagnosed with and died of cancer. So one dog, it was very quick. But the second dog, we had months to prepare. And it's one of those things, again, when you can prepare, you can intellectually prepare, you can run yourself through the scenarios all day, but nothing prepares you for the moment when it actually happens, when the moment is being experienced and you have to just live through it. And you could be preparing yourself for years and years and years for something like this, and it's not going to replace the actual feeling experience. So just keep that in mind too, because if you don't allow yourself to be aware of the potential experience, you miss your opportunity for the experience, to learn something from the experience, to heal from the experience. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And so this dog friend that I'm watching is also an interesting lesson right now in our senses, because he's got no eyes now, and so he's learning how to navigate his world in a totally new way. So there's a lot of times where he's kind of bouncing off the furniture and running into the walls and kind of moving in circles because he's just so disoriented, and he's trying to learn how to reorient himself in his reality. And dog's sense of sight isn't that great to begin with, but obviously they utilize it, because he wouldn't be bouncing off of walls and furniture if he didn't use it at all. And that seems to be a lot of this Neptune in Pisces. The fog is so thick that many people are finding themselves bouncing off of walls, going from one thing to another, going in circles, spinning out, where am I? And learning to reorient ourselves with a sense that maybe we have neglected to develop. We didn't have a reason to develop because we were so used to having this one sense that has now been completely overshadowed by the fog of Neptune and Pisces. And so, you know, the fog will clear. It doesn't stay this way forever. And it's just a matter of using other senses in order to orient ourselves to where we are. And maybe that means just sitting down and going into a meditation, or just staying put and letting everybody else around us just freak out, trying to orient themselves in a reality that they've lost a sense, right? And they have to let other senses take its place, and not everybody is in the same place. Again, this comes back to where the moon and Mercury come together. Not not everybody's in the same place, and we need to meet people where they're at as actual human beings, as opposed to being screens for us to project our ideals onto them, which leads us to resenting people in a lot of ways when they don't live up to that ideal that we are projecting onto them. And maybe it's time that we start looking at ourselves and where we can do our own work instead of being worried and fearful and resentful. And this is difficult work. I'm not saying that it's not hard and that we don't all have work to do, because we do. And that will become very apparent in the moment where we're experiencing the awakening, as opposed to conceptualizing it and objectively looking at it and rationalizing it, because that time is about to end. And it's going to happen very quickly with Uranus. It's quick. It's a quick transformation. It's a trigger that then Pluto comes along and finishes out. So interesting astrology for today. And let's get into the transmission, of course. I think it's important that we get into this part as well. So let me drink some coffee. Meg, let me know how the audio's doing real quick. I think it's okay. I did a bunch of tech work to get it worked out, so I don't think it sounds like it's underwater anymore. So as we come into the moment here, we have a lot of resistance. Okay, a lot of resistance to what? A cycle coming to a close. So first we have the 10 of Wands, oppression. This is Saturn in Sagittarius. You can see these two large wands that are superimposed on top of all the other smaller wands. This is the karma of Saturn pressing down on our transformational powers, our spiritual will. 10 is the cycle coming to a close. It has come back around to its beginning point again. And so sometimes we can't, the fire of our spiritual will and our transformation, it's not meant to be pushed down onto the ground, right? And sometimes we just build up so much when it comes to our alchemy that we are weighed down to a certain extent. Now, we have this reversed, okay? So this is already an excessive amount of power and oppression in and of itself. But when it's reversed like this, there is a lot of resistance to what is meant to be the end of a cycle and a learning process, okay? So I would say we have this reversed, and then we have the 9 of discs. This is a lovely card when it's upright. Gain, Venus and Virgo. This is culmination, right? This is pulling in all the crops that we have cultivated and being very satisfied with what we have cultivated. The gain, the material gain of all of our hard work. Also reversed, okay? And so this is almost a being obsessed with and greedy, right? We're totally super focused on and being self-satisfied and want more, and we want more, and we want more, and nothing is ever enough at this point, because again, we're talking about the end of a cycle and having a new one begin. Well, there's a lot of resistance to these cycles ending, the fire of our transformation, and then the material aspect of gain, right? We gain and then we gain, and then it's time to start the cycle over again. You can't just keep taking it in and taking it in. Oh my gosh, you remember the scene in Monty Python's Meaning of Life? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, I really recommend you watch that movie. And it's towards the end. There is a scene that is just, oh man, so Monty Python. But this is what happens when you just keep eating and eating and eating and don't have a sense that you have to release some things before you can come back to the cycle of gaining in material form. So there's a lot of resistance right now to these cycles ending, and there's a lot of excessive force, right? There is dogmatism, there's selfishness, there's greediness. We're all pulling it in, and really not learning anything, and in the process dissipating a lot of our energy. This is a collective, okay? This is not just any one person. This is a collective read here. And we also, the fire is going to burn no matter what. It's just going to come about in a way that maybe we can't control because of the oppressive force of our karma and the material aspect, okay? There is like I said, greed for more and self-satisfied with the material gain that we forget about everything else, okay? So what is the heart of the moment here? Well, here is the devil again, right? This is the lattice work of our material reality unfolding in real time here, okay? Also reverse, which is what we had yesterday as well. The Capricorn energy. This is Pluto and the sun, right? This is the heart of the energy today. And the heart is really ruled by the sun. It's the fifth house. It's Leo, right? We often think about the heart as an emotional thing, and it is, because our emotions get flared up by our passions, right? But it's really about that fifth house passion. The heart is what pumps the blood through our system. The blood is what, brings heat through our body. It gives us nourishment. It brings oxygen to our brain. It also moves stuff out of our cells and where it needs to go. The heart of it here with the sun today in Pluto is the destruction of the old guard, right? It is the pulling down of the physical reality that we have been part of and will inevitably lead to chaos. Now, again, there's a lot of resistance to this happening, but regardless, it's happening. It's happening right now. So what is at the top of our awareness and our attention is really meant to be focused on right this moment? Well, here's Archangel Michael, another culminating number. This is number 9. So remember yesterday we had Archangel Raphael, who was number 8. It's about healing and benevolence and miracles. Well, Archangel Michael is divine, the channel of divine power. Look, he's got a flaming heart. He's lifting up those who can't lift himself, okay? This is a cycle of increasing power, courage, conviction that's coming in at the top of our awareness, okay? This is something that can come in through these upper channels here and come into our awareness. If you're having a hard time with this courage, if you're not feeling an activation or initiation into action of any kind, and it doesn't mean you have to necessarily do anything specific other than maybe embody this energy of courage and divine power and be willing to lift up those who can't lift themselves. That is the responsibility of Michael. He's the defender, right? He comes through with the flaming sword. It's important that we realize that things are happening now and that we do need to pull in this courage and initiate something, even if it's just taking care of the people around us, even if it's just standing in this courage so that we can inspire other people and have them feel safe and secure around us, because things are going to happen quickly. And I know we've been waiting for something. And like I said, Uranus coming direct, it's a fast shift. All right. It's not a cycle that's necessarily going to be drawn out. Now, Pluto, yes, absolutely. That process is going to take a while because we're talking about like I said, the lattice work of our material reality. So the courage that we need to bring in here is really important, not just for us, but for the people around us that may not be able to really embody this as much as other people, okay? Now, at the root of things here is the 3 of Scrolls, setting a new course, right? We've seen this one before. We have the rainbow in the background. They have the captain on the ship. They are navigating a new course. He's looking off into the distance. It's going in a new direction. This is at the root of things here. We're going to a new place, right? That's the thing. We're going to have this chaos and destruction of the old in order to get somewhere new, to evolve, right? To ascend to the next phase, okay? But this is at the root of things energetically. They aren't really fully in our awareness yet, and they aren't really fully manifested. And I would argue at this point that they will be coming forward, but right now at the top of our awareness is this need for courage and divine power. But rooting this all is the setting of a new course, using our mental acuity here and our ability to navigate in order to get somewhere, okay? Because where is this headed? Well, here's the star card, number 17. This is the Aquarian card, the guiding light, right? Cosmic coherence. So despite all of this oppression and this resistance to these cycles flipping over and really just clinging to everything, either our creative fire or the material gain. The reality is that there is a guiding light ahead, and this is where our focus can be in order to help us navigate to the next location. This is how you navigate on the sea, is through the stars, the fixed stars. They have a position here that allows us to navigate, and this is, again, Jupiter in Aquarius, right? Expanding, expanding on the future, expanding on the cosmic coherence, and taking a leadership position. So this is where it's headed, this Aquarian energy. And when we come into later in January, into February, we're going to have so much Aquarius energy. It's going to be really incredible, right? As long as we are sovereign in this Aquarian energy. And so there is a guiding light here. We are setting a new course, but we need some courage right now, and focus on this initiatory and action-oriented process where growth is really happening. Speaking of growth, so some guidance here. So the Five of Forces, you can see this is a bifurcation card, summer and winter. So when it's upright, it is summer, isn't it? So this is a time of growth. This is a time of yang or yang activity, expression. This is when the sun is shining at its brightest in the summer. We get the most light when it's the summer season. And there's action here, and there's movement here. And again, maybe your movement is just being courageous, being out there, right? Because this is also the time of year when the flowers are in full bloom. The sun is fully shining. We are in full expression of ourselves. Again, that is the sun meeting Pluto today. And so we do have to have some courage when everything is falling apart that we have relied upon to give us some sense of reality here. And so there is some growth and initiation and some action, but it's really about full expression of who we are in terms of the sun. And Michael, if Michael represents, Archangel Michael represents this courage and this heart space that's totally open. Now, this is a time for deep emotional healing, the seagull. So it's not about a battle necessarily, and it's not about action in a way that maybe we think. It's about healing. We're all on this path of healing together. That's what this planetary ascension, that's what precedes the ascension, right? The awakening process is going to be about a very deep healing, because we're all going through a collective dark night of the soul, and we need to actually have some courage to face it, and we need to be in full expression of who we are and sovereign in order to come into the Aquarian age at its highest potential and not in the Borg hive mind. There's no individuality there. There's no personal sovereignty there. But part of this process is going to be a very deep emotional healing first. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. And when we're setting a new course, here's our friend the spider. It's about writing stories that inspire and enlighten people, and being creative. And the spider creates from their own body. This is also linking past, present, and future. So we're setting a course into the future, but we also have to know where we're coming from, and we have to be able to read the map. And not everybody is going to be able to see that. And so we can inspire and enlighten people to how this can be done from a personal, you know what I mean? The spider is in itself a sovereign creature because it creates its home and its ability to sustain itself through its own body, okay? And so we can inspire other people by writing our own narrative, being a co-creator of our reality, and sharing that with other people. And this is about setting the course for the future. But we have to learn how to be sovereign and heal. You know, spider medicine is very strong, very, very strong, divine, very powerful feminine energy, right? So because she does create from her own body. So we are setting a course. And it does require some inspiration. This is the muse here. And it's interesting to me that number 15 is the same number as the devil card, right? And this is a beautiful, look at it. She is playing an instrument. She's coming out of this bowl. There are flower petals like swirling all around. It's the muse. It's the inspiration that comes from within us, but not of us, right? It is divine inspiration. And it's the same divine inspiration that really pushes along the engine of nature too. It comes from the same place. And so again, having being inspired and heightened resourcefulness that comes through because we're actually getting quiet. We're getting into the deeper aspects of ourselves. Remember yesterday, the Akashic Library, it's time to go deeper. To be inspired by this will also allow us to inspire other people in how to set a course for a new world, because people, I have a feeling, are not going to see it that way. It's already been such a rough year, and there are so many people that are expecting things to just go back, and it's not happening that way. And so things are going to happen quickly. We are in the midst of the crumble right now, and as it becomes more apparent, especially with the sun, with Pluto right now, as it becomes unavoidable, now that Uranus is direct, it's going to be something more than an idea. It's going to be an experience that we're all going to start having together. And so we do need some courage. And so we can call upon some guides here to help with that process and realize that it's about the healing and it's not about the actions that are being taken necessarily. Those are a manifestation of the energetic process that is already unfolded. So we need courage to ride out the rest of this cycle, and to inspire other people to have courage too, and to be there to comfort them. You know, we do not have access to this information. We're not on the front lines of this just so we can say, hey, I'm on the front lines of this. We're on the front lines of this so that we can be a source of courage and inspiration for other people whose journey involved them not being on the front lines, because that is how they are going to evolve the most drastically. So just keep that in mind, that we're here to inspire and enlighten people as we set a new course. But right now, the top of our awareness is, embodying the same courage that Archangel Michael represents, okay? Because there's an incredible amount of healing that's going to take place, and not everybody is even remotely aware that it's about to happen. So that's going to change soon, but we're in the middle of it, and I'm here, and we're all here together. So shit's going to hit the fan is right. It's true. It absolutely is true. And it's going to become very obvious soon. So definitely hit that subscribe button. I am so stoked to get to at least 100 subscribers. I know that's not a big deal, but it is to me. And then hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. I forgot to record this again, so I won't be getting this one on BitChute, but I'm going to hopefully get the astrology one on BitChute so that I can, and Odyssey, so I can have multiple platforms so that you can also find me in other places. The good thing about BitChute and Odyssey is that there's no ads embedded in the videos. So that's going to be a real awesome feature to be able to offer people. Because if you don't pay for your YouTube subscription, you have to suffer through their ads. I remember when that wasn't even a thing way back in the day. So I really hope that BitChute and Odyssey and Rumble can stay that way, instead of, essentially molesting our consciousness with ad space everywhere we go. And everything else you need is in the description box, obviously. And if you're interested in reading, you can go to catalystenergies.net, check out the services, and book right from there. I'm going to offer my Starseed package discount, I think, up to the equinox. So that is already on the website in terms of its price point. So you can just book right from there, and reach out if you have any questions. You're looking for support. The email's in the description box. Facebook is still up and running. If I decide to get on a different social media platform, I will let you know. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. If you're catching this on the replay, I so appreciate it. I'll see you on the next transmission.